So I wanted to make a quick video about the Drosophyllum Lusitanicum, or the dewy pine as it's known. Just some of the sort of tips that I've picked up along the way. So this is a plant that you really need to be growing out from seed. They don't take transportation very well, so pretty much growing them from seed is the best way. And this is typically done once you receive the seeds. I basically just take a small Stanley knife blade and scratch the seed coat away on the bulbous end of the seed until you expose the white part of the seed, and then you plant it in peat and very moist peat and perlite mix. And basically once the plant is maybe, I don't know, that big, you're going to want to transfer it to its forever pot. Now, in terms of pots, you can use either ceramic pots like this, terracotta, or you can use even just normal plastic pots like this. One thing I should say is that you really want as deep a pot as you possibly can, because the Drosophyllum have very long tap roots which they send down into the soil. And in terms of the media, so if you look over here, the media is just a mix of about 3/4 perlite and 1/4 peat. So you can see, if I dig it up there, you can see there's actually quite a lot of peat. And then I like to just put a top dressing of perlite on top. And it's the same deal here. Probably a bit more perlite in this one because it's a plastic pot and it dries out less. In terms of watering, these plants remind me a little bit of cacti. They don't need a lot of water, so I will go about 2 to 3 weeks before watering them. And except for the summertime, like now, I take them out of the greenhouse. I normally will keep them in there for most of the year, and then over the summer I just put them up here so that they can get the best sun and airflow that they possibly can. And obviously I live here in rainy England, so the sky does the watering for me. I think as long as your media mix is just well draining, it doesn't really matter, because the water is just gonna drain out. But yeah, I wouldn't stand these two plants in any kind of standing water. So it should be top watering, and it should be done very seldomly as well. You can see the plants don't need any feeding. They are more than capable of catching bugs by themselves, and as long as they're kept outside. In terms of conditions, the plants, they will tolerate, so here in the summer it got to maybe, I don't know, about 30 degrees Celsius in the greenhouse, and then I started taking them out. They seem to prefer a lot cooler temperatures, so you may want to bear that in mind. They like good airflow. I think they suffer from fungal attacks if they're in places where they don't get good airflow. So they'll take upwards of 30 degrees in the summer, and in the winter I've kept them just here in the cold frame greenhouse, and they took down to about, so one of them I took in under light and the other I left outside. And the one outside got to, I'd say, about -3 degrees, and it froze solid for a good week, and it literally just bounced back. So that was the same thing from when they were seedlings. They are really able to tolerate very harsh conditions, so just being frozen solid even as a seedling. And now as adults, it's pretty much you know, the same thing. So the one I left outside actually grew a lot bigger than the one I took inside under light. So, you know, maybe they like to be left naturally. I don't think they really perform well under light, unlike some of the other plants. And yeah, that's pretty much all there is to it. Once the seedlings are growing like this, they're pretty much unstoppable, so long as you give them a watering every now and then. In terms of, so like I mentioned earlier, you want to plant them into their forever pots. You don't want to be repotting these, because they do tend to sulk. But that said, I actually did repot this guy, because he was in a much smaller, it was about that size plastic pot. And I just figured he might like the deeper pot for the longer roots, and I think as long as you do it carefully, you can carefully transplant them and you know, repot them. It's obviously not recommended, but as this plant here is showing, I think it's a myth that you will kill them instantly if you do a repot. But yeah, do it carefully and be prepared for losses if you're not very careful with your plant. So that's the dewy pine Lusitanicum.